Okay, so welcome again, everyone, to the online statistics class. This is the orientation webinar. And let me share my screen because that's what this is all about, is seeing what we're going to be looking at. And what we're going to be looking at is Canvas shell and all the different things that we have to do in this class. And I want to remind you all again, I'll have one eye on the Canvas shell that, is going on, and then another eye on the chat box. So if you have questions, and my hand is on the most important thing, and that's my cat. But other than that, I'll be, taking a watch and looking at any questions you have. The whole point of having a synchronous webinar is so that you can ask questions. Okay, otherwise you can just watch why have synchronous? You might as well just watch some long webinar, long video that I can, polish and make perfect. And I do have some of those, but those are different. So again, the idea of the webinars are that you can ask questions. I'll answer them immediately instead of you having to wait until I see it. Okay. And I don't take too long, but it might be, if you do it at 10 at night, it might be at 6 in the morning before you get to see it answer because I'll be sleeping, that kind of thing. Okay. Okay. Or worse yet, it could be a day, because who knows, if you're in Tahoe or even California now, lately, we could all lose electricity and internet. That could happen. And in fact, I'm crossing my fingers that doesn't happen. It did happen at my house earlier today. And I was like, I got home and there was no internet. I'm like, oh, crap. And then I was able to get it back. So thank God. Okay. Does the class include a lab? So this is a statistics class. So there's no like laboratory where you do some kind of experiment and watch it go on. So there's no lab in that. There's a lot of work in the class, and I'll go over all the work to do, but there's no like chemistry lab kind of lab looking thing, if that's what you mean. So there's no like official lab. So let me tell you my plan. And again, please post questions in the chat box so I can answer them. My plan is to go through the syllabus pretty much line by line, and then go through the module, especially this week's module, so you can kind of see what a week will look like. And also, in a big way, to answer questions. So feel free to ask questions. So again, hopefully you all know this, and that is the class's elementary statistics. It's called statistics. And it's a math class. I hear a lot of, oh, I'm terrible at math. I can't make the, there's not that much mathematics in this class that you have to do. There's a lot of mathematics in the background that I do, but pretty much the calculator and the computer is going to do all the math for you. What you're going to have to do a lot of, though, is interpret the results. And that's a biggie. There's a lot of vocabulary in this class. So just note, if you have a paranoia or a panic about mathematics, try to relax a little bit, because this is not one of those, solve the quadratic formula kind of classes. Okay. There'll be numbers, but nothing deep in terms of the mathematics. So that's the good news. A lot of times I'll say, trust me. It just works, and you'll have to trust me. And if you don't want to just trust me, then you're always welcome to come to my office hours, and then I'll torture you with the mathematics if you really want. But you better know a lot of calculus. So again, you don't need to know any of that kind of math. Okay. A few things that you do need to know in math, they're very basic. And that is, how do you round numbers? So if you had 5.273 and you want to round to the nearest, in 2 decimal places, you would do 5.27. So whereas if you did 1 decimal place, it would be 5.3. So rounding is important, and that's going to come up a whole lot over the weeks in this class. But then there's a little bit with lines, but there's not too much mathematics. So if you love math, sorry, you might cry a bit, because I'm going to be throwing all that under the carpet. This class is online, and it's truly online. For example, if you are, for some reason, and I hope not, but let's say you're hospitalized and stuck in a bed, but you have a laptop or something that, in front of you the whole time, for the next 4 months, you could do fine in this class. You don't have to do anything that is not online. On the other hand, if you don't have a computer and you don't have online access, you will not pass this class, because this is an online class that needs a computer the whole time, basically. So that's a biggie. So this is an online class. There's nothing that you never, and I don't want to say you should never come to Lake Tahoe, but it's not a requirement. And those of you who live in Lake Tahoe understand that it's a good idea to come to Lake Tahoe. Nothing to do with statistics, but because I think it's the most beautiful place in the world and I recommend coming here, but nothing for this class or anything. So this is completely online. You never have to come to Tahoe. You don't have to be in the United States. That's not important. In fact, I've had classes, and I don't know where y'all from. I've had classes where I've had 4 countries represented in the class, where the person never left that country, and that's fine, but the main thing is you have to have internet access. So if you can't get online, you can't make this class. So internet access is the biggie. Okay. So it is a 5-unit class, which is pretty much, so just note that if you're coming from a semester system college, because I know I get a bunch of students who are not Tahoe people, and they're coming from a different college, which is just fine. This is different because we're a quarter system. So we go, and that's why it's 5 units, because we only do 12 weeks, whereas a semester system does like 16 or 18 weeks, depending on the college university, and which means that there's more hours per week.
Hello, how are you?
So put yourself on mute if you're not wanting to ask questions, please.
A question.
Thank you.
There, I just put you on mute, and you can always ask to unmute and I'll unmute, but it was a little kind of distracting. So anyhow, it's online. It's 5 units because it's a lot. So expect to spend a lot of time every week in this class, because this is taken from a semester course and compressed into 12 weeks because we're a quarter system. So that's just a note. If you don't have a lot of time per week, this class won't work for you. Okay. You don't have to have a lot of background. What you have to have is a lot of time. And of course, internet access. So that's the biggie. Okay. And then there's me. My name's Larry Green, and I have been teaching statistics and mathematics for a very long time. In fact, it was a little scary. I taught a face-to-face class today, and I talked about how long I taught, and then we realized that no one was born when I started teaching statistics in my whole class. So I've been teaching statistics at Lake Tahoe Community College. This is my 27th year. Okay, how much time do you think you should set aside for this class? And again, it depends on your, work thing. The recommendation is you're supposed to take the number of units and multiply by 3, and that should be the number of hours per week that it should take. That's a state or maybe national recommendation. Some of you work faster, some of you work slower. Again, I don't know you all, so I can't tell you for sure, but a few hours a day. Look at it that way. Not 8 hours a day, but maybe 2 or 3 hours a day working in this class is my recommendation. Okay. There's a lot of ways of communicating with me. One of the ways, if it is something that is something that you don't want others to hear other than me, then email is best. I tend to look at email a lot more than is healthy. And you'll like that because that's healthy for you, not healthy for me. So if I don't get back to you in a day, what that really means is that the power went out. I don't have electricity and I can't get back to you. And the bad news is that in the last month or two, that's been happening a lot. If you're from California, you probably know that because it's probably happened to you too. So I get back to you. I will get back to you. I will let you know Mondays and Wednesdays between 10 and 1:30, I am teaching with pretty much no break. So don't expect anything back Monday, Wednesday between 10 a.m. and 1:30 p.m. because I teach statistics face to face. So that's just a note. Also, usually around 9 p.m. to around 5 in the morning, I'm offline. And you guess what I'm doing? Not partying, by the way.
Sleeping.
I'm asleep. Okay, I'm asleep. Do not expect me to answer your question at 11 p.m. I will be asleep, hopefully dreaming something nice. So, but don't be surprised if you get something back at 5 in the morning or maybe even 4:30 in the morning. I tend to wake up really early. So, expect that. Okay. So, and I'm pretty good about getting back right away when I wake up. In fact, I have my laptop on my bed with me. And when I wake up, I open it up and then answer any questions. So just let you know that I get back to you really fast in the morning, but I won't ever get back to you in, after 10 for sure, but after 9 usually either. So that's just a note in terms of getting to me. During the week, again, Monday and Wednesday, I got that one bit that I'm busy, but the rest of the time I'm around a lot. Weekends I'm around a lot. But there are days when I'll be skiing. So I could be gone for some hours, cross-country skiing in the backcountry and off kind of, no internet or anything. So that could be, several hours on the weekends when I might be having a good time skiing, because we all have to have fun, right? So just let you know, I do have some fun. This is the Canvas webpage. What I recommend doing is logging into Canvas and then going on your browser and saving the main Canvas page as a bookmark page. The reason for that is that way, if Lake Tahoe Community College loses power, you'll still be able to get in. Whereas if you try to get through Lake Tahoe Community College and they've lost power, and especially in the winter, because that happens a bit because of our, we have strong winters, then you won't be able to get in. So that's just an issue. So I recommend putting this as a bookmark so that you can get in. And then, believe it or not, this goes through Amazon and they tend never to go down. That's the good news. Canvas pays Amazon to host their stuff. So it shouldn't go down. I think in the last 2.5 years, it went down once. That's not bad. And it was for 3 hours. That was it. So that's not too bad. But it really doesn't go down much. Now, your particular internet at home could go down, but Canvas doesn't really go down. This right here, live lectures and office hour information. By the way, if you're here live, not on YouTube watching this, then you don't need this because you got in. So that gives you the link to the webinars and my office hours. It's the same link. So all of my Zoom link is all the same. And fortunately, I haven't been, Zoom bombed. So I've been able to keep the same link without having to change that or anything. So that's the good news. So that works. Archive lectures right now, there is no link. How come? Should be obvious.
No lectures yet.
Yeah, this is our first lecture. So there's nothing to archive. And YouTube makes sure that if you don't have a video to post, then you can't make a playlist. A playlist has to have something in it. So this will have a link, hopefully by the end of the night, unless I'm too tired, and then it'll be tomorrow morning. And there'll be a link, and that'll get you set up to watch all of the lectures that have happened since the beginning. Full-length YouTube lectures, what I've done, if you click on that, this goes to a YouTube playlist. And there are 13 of these. Any guess why there's 13? There's a reason. It's not because it's some unlucky number, by the way, if you're triskaidekaphobic. So why do you think there's 13?
Because there's 13 weeks. Because there's 13 weeks.
No, there's only 12 weeks actually, and only 11 weeks of lecture.
13 chapters?
Yeah, 13 chapters. There's 13 chapters in the book. And what I did is I made a lecture for each chapter. Unlike the webinars that are going to be, not tonight's, but after tonight, these are, were made, at, at least a year ago, some much longer ago, but they've been updated a year ago. So you're not going to see any kind of new stuff. You're not going to see anything, about the Ukrainian war on these, because that hadn't happened. So they don't have current event stuff, but they have examples, and those are nice to watch, to learn, and but unfortunately, unlike the webinars, they're posted videos. You can't ask a question to the video, it won't answer it. Okay, you can ask me, in a Q&A, forum. I'll show you that later, but you won't get an immediate answer. Whenever I see it. It might be a couple hours. So those should help out. And again, I've been teaching this, like I said, a very, very, very long time. And in fact, I've been teaching at Lake Tahoe Community College, and you may be surprised, longer than any other full-time faculty member has taught here that's still teaching at our college. So I am the most experienced faculty member. So I've been doing this forever. Okay. Like I said, longer than a lot of you have been alive. Yeah, and I don't know how old you are, but this is my 27th year here. So I've been creating, and knowing that I've been going to do this as a career, I've been creating statistics resources throughout my whole career. So there's a lot out there for you. Just let you know that. And I've been teaching online, not 27 years, because in fact, a lot of people didn't know what the internet was. It was a long time ago. So about 15 years or so. I don't remember the first year, but something around 15 years I've been teaching online. So I've been doing this forever. And in fact, at the time, my first students, if I said, you can look at my stuff on the internet, they would have no idea what I was talking about, because they didn't know what the internet, that word, meant. That's how long ago it was. My website for math was the first math website in the world. I can be really excited about that. And it looked a lot different because the internet didn't have that kind of power. Okay, so it's been a while. I've been doing this forever and ever. All right, so that's that one. I also, just in case you want longer lectures, there was something called Eve classes. Those are like COVID classes. Those were supposed to be face-to-face, but they got switched because of COVID. So what we did then is we made the whole class time 5 hours a week, because it's 5 units. I give 5 hours a week a lecture. And because I recorded and put on YouTube, I figured, hey, you can watch those if you want to see some really long videos on this stuff. But that's up to you. It's definitely not required. I also have little short introductory videos that are like, I'll show you in a second. Those are like a couple minutes. And those are just talking about what we're doing for the week type of stuff. And I wrote those a long time ago, but stats doesn't change that much. The technology a little bit, but not statistics. Those videos of worked out problems. Mostly with these, you're going to be watching these while you're doing homework, and you'll be able to click on one that is related instead of going to some big long list. And then you'll get a click on a related question to that problem. And then you can watch an example problem. I also, I am a computer programmer, and I have coded a lot of interactive statistics to help you out for those who like to do hands-on kind of stuff. And that I've made calculator stuff. I have made things where you can just take a look. I've made games. So this is a game. Okay, you may not have as much fun, but here it is, and you have to guess the standard deviation. I made a game out of it, and then it'll give you, tell you about it, how close you are, and etc. Again, we haven't gone over all the stuff yet, so you won't understand it today, but throughout the course, you'll be able to play around with that. I made a lot of visualizations, so you can like move a slider and watch things change, things like that. I'll let you play with those. And then there's the textbook. One of a big deal for me, kind of my mission in life for the last several years, has been to make sure that I never, ever have a student who drops my class because they can't afford the book or the calculator or anything else in the class. Okay, so the textbook is 100% free. Okay, and it's online. So if I click on that, this is the textbook. And what I did is I took a book on what's called OpenStax by Barbara Lowski, who is a really good person. We've gotten along together for a lot of years, actually. She used to teach at Foothill De Anza College. And I took her book and I customized it for us. Okay. Yeah. And again, the cost is nothing. If for some reason it's an online class, but it's absolutely not necessary, but if some reason you want a paper version of it, then you have to, buy printer ink and maybe buy some printer paper and put it in the printer and hit print. So you're welcome to do that if you want to. But there's definitely no requirement to ever print it. It can all be done 100% online. And this is the book. And if you go through, I'll just grab a chapter. I don't know, how about the central limit theorem? Then there's the book, and you can go to a section from the book. Okay. Oh, something I forgot to mention, because it's kind of important to y'all, and no one asked, it's how long are these webinars? Am I going to go for 7 hours? And the answer is no, I'll fall asleep anyway. The orientation is usually around an hour. And then the rest of them are usually about an hour and 25 minutes, because then I have to go through deep statistics. So just let you know in terms of, how long to expect this to be. And an hour, it might be an hour, 10 minutes, might be 55 minutes. I won't know. It depends on how many questions there are and stuff like that. So this is a book. So, so for example, if you go to, I don't know, central limit theorem for sample means, then here's a book, we're reading it. And you'll notice that what I've done is I've embedded these activities. Okay, this was not in the original book, I made this. And again, you're not supposed to necessarily, understand this, but you can do this and you can, play around and observe and have it interactive. Okay, so the question is, how often are the webinars? So this week we have the webinar now. Obviously, you know about that if you're watching this live. And then tomorrow there'll be a webinar at noon. This week is different because this week I do an orientation webinar and I do a content webinar. All the rest of the weeks, okay, actually week 2 through 11, there's one webinar. And what I do is I rotate them Monday evening and Tuesday noon. I've found in my many years of doing this that those are the times that are most popular. And if I rotate it, then if you work at night, then maybe you can make the noon one. If you work in the daytime, maybe you can make the evening one. And that way, at least you can make something. Most people can make some of them at least. It's not required to watch them live. You can watch them on YouTube and then do the secret word quiz, which I'll show you in a little bit. But you do have to watch them. Hopefully that answers your question. So this week does twice, but all the rest is just once. Okay. So then if I scroll down more, here's one of these videos. This is a video. And we're not going to watch the whole video, but I've embedded the video right in the book too. And here's another video. And then more example stuff that was written by Barbara. And then more example stuff, et cetera, et cetera. And this is what the sections look like. Okay, and that's what the book is. I try to make it more interesting than just some static textbook that you read. Okay, and you don't have to watch the video. If you're not into videos, read the book. If you can understand it just from the book, that's great. Okay, so what I want to do is make sure that whatever your learning style is, that your needs will be satisfied. Okay, whether it's interactivity, whether it's audio visual, whether it's reading, whatever it is, then you'll be able to make it through and learn. Any questions about the textbook? Okay. So basically, I'm not going to read all the details of the course description, but it's statistics. And you don't understand all this stuff now, but you will by the end of the quarter. So just trust me on that. The grading policy, I grade on a 90, 80, 70, 60 scale. Okay, so hopefully you're used to that. I try to make life easy for you in terms of understanding, and hopefully you're all used to this scale. And in terms of the distribution of points, assignments, all combined, are worth 10% of the grade. So one question on one assignment is not worth very much. But if you don't do any of the assignments, it'll be bad for you. And you won't learn too. And then you'll get terrible grades and everything else because you won't have learned anything. So don't worry about 1 point taken off on one assignment, but do worry if you don't understand things, because if you don't understand things, that means you're not getting it and you're not going to do well on anything, if that makes sense. And by the way, right now we're just going with the syllabus. You'll get to see what the assignments look like in a little bit. Discussions. So if you've taken an online class before, almost all of them require a discussion forum kind of thing. And I'll show you what that looks like in a little bit. And that's 10% combined. Then there's exams. And in the last year, I guess, I kind of changed my mode and it seems to work. People tend to like it. What I do is that on even weeks, you will have an exam. Each exam is worth the same weight as every other exam. So week 2 exam and week 8 exam, those are worth 10% of the grade. So is week 12, so is week 6. So if it's an even week number, then there'll be an exam. And so there's no exams that will kill you. But if you don't do well on all of them, it'll be really bad for you. Does that make sense? Okay, so there's no high pressure exams. Every exam is important, though.
How many exams is there total?
What's that?
How many exams is there total?
Well, let's take a look at it. There's a little bit of math for you. There's 12 weeks in the class. We have an exam every even week. 12 divided by 2 is 6. So 6 exams. See how that works? 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, and 12.
I thought you meant like only exams on even week are like counted towards the 10%. Okay.
Yeah, no, odd weeks, there's no exams.
Okay, that's what I was wondering.
So this week, there's no exam. Next week there is. The week after, there's no exam. Okay. So that's kind of how the exams work. There are 2 projects. The projects are group projects. And we'll talk about those in a little bit. And the details of the projects are too hard right now. We need to understand statistics to be able to even understand what you're supposed to do. But they're group projects, and we'll get to that in a bit. I have a section on that. Okay, so the exams are they might be different than something you've done before. What I've done is I take the homework, the assignments, and you are randomly given like one question from every main topic of each assignment. Does that make sense? And those are computer graded. Now, half of that will come from, around half, will come from past stuff, and half will come from the new stuff. Now, in week 2, that doesn't mean anything because everything is new. But let's say we're in week 8. So half of the exam will be week 7 and 8. The other half will be week 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And that's how it works. So you do have to understand everything that happened in the class, in the exams. But they're more focused on the newest. And then the last, usually 2 questions. Sometimes it's 1, sometimes it's 3, but usually 2 questions. The last couple of questions are questions where it asks you not just, what is the answer to this question? Give me the number. But you have to actually show all of your work by typing it out. I am not strict on spelling. And you might learn in this class as you watch my webinars that I'm not good at spelling. So if you spell something wrong, I'm fine with that. But I am strict on communications. How many questions are usually in exam? Usually 15 to 20. They're 90 minutes. So the exams are timed and they're 90 minutes. Okay, so that's just a note. And it should be enough time, if you really focus on it and you practice a lot of the assignments. And by the way, practicing assignments is the best way for the non-written out stuff. And written out means typed out on a computer. Okay. And if you don't know how to type out some math symbol, like say sigma, then you could just type in SIGMA and that's fine. Okay, that's not a problem. So as long as you're communicating that you understand, that's the important thing. How are the exams laid out in terms of multiple choice, workout problems, etc.? So as I mentioned, the last two questions are workout problems. Okay, and a lot of it is not just working out your work, but sometimes you have to write maybe 2-3 sentences to explain how you would interpret it. Does that make sense? But the other questions are going to be the multiple choice, not just multiple choice. Sometimes you have to actually type in a number, but it feels kind of multiple choice-ish. So I'll ask you, what is the p-value? And you have to type in 4.37. And that's the answer. And that's the whole thing you type in. Okay, if that makes sense. So that's kind of how they're laid out. But the parts that are the last two questions, those are worth more points. Those are weighted higher. Okay. So that's just a note. So, and those I grade by hand, I grade and I'll give you comments on the thing. So you'll get to see my comments. The exams are not proctored. Okay, but please don't cheat. They're not proctored. I figure there's enough of them that you have to be really a bad person because you have to cheat a lot all the time. And hopefully you're not one of those people.
Can we use our notes on the exams?
You can.
Okay.
Yeah, you can. They're not proctored. You can use your notes. What I don't want you to do is, have some brilliant person behind you telling you how to do every problem. Because that'd be cheating. Does that sound fair? And you can't email your friend, which is the same thing as some brilliant person telling you how do I do this problem? And then you get that. So that's the only thing I don't want you doing. That sound fair? Okay, so as long as you're doing it, that's fine.
That sounds.
Okay, what's that? Someone had a question.
How many points is each exam worth?
So what matters, points don't matter. What matters is they're 10% of your course grade.
Okay.
That's the important thing. Because what'll happen is however many points they are, and then it gets put in, they find the percent of that you got right on those points, then multiply by 10%, and that put into your course grade. That's how the math works. 10% of the course grade is all you should care about. Okay. The exams are always due on, almost always due. Exam 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 are due on Sunday night, but don't wait till 11 p.m. 10:30 p.m. because that's when your internet will go down. It's just bad stuff happens. Waiting until the last minute is usually a bad idea. The only one that's not Sunday night is week 12 because that's finals week, and that will be due on Wednesday night. Okay. The exams are open for multiple days, but you only have 90 minutes from when you start to when you finish. So if you want to do the exam on Thursday, that's great. Okay, as long as you're prepared for it. Yeah, but if you do it and you can't redo it on Sunday, does that make sense? Yeah, so you can do whatever day you want, but you have to make sure that you're ready, you're rested, you're not distracted, all that kind of stuff, and that you've practiced a lot for it. That makes sense. Okay, assignments. Okay, so the assignments are they are officially due on Sunday, but it's strongly recommended that you really work to be done maybe by Friday night. Because if you need extra time and you ask on Sunday night, I will always say no. But if you realize on Friday that you're not going to be able to make it by Sunday, and you ask, I'm going to need an extra couple days, and you send me an email on Friday, I'll always say yes and give you some extra days, usually 2 days. Okay. Does that make sense? If something's going on in your life, you're getting married or something, who knows? Lots of things can happen. And the idea is that then I'll give you some extra time, but not like weeks of time, but an extra couple days, but only if you ask by Friday. Okay, but if you wait till Sunday, it's too late, or even Saturday. Okay, then I'm going to say, well, sorry. Okay, the discussion posts. The discussion posts are, they're due twice, actually. And those of you who have taken online classes and done discussion assignments, you should also, how much is the final worth, by the way? 10% of the grade. Every exam is worth 10% of the grade. So there's no high stakes exams where, it's most of your grade kind of thing. I just noticed that in the chat. Sorry, I missed that one. Okay, so the discussion posts are due twice. Is the week 12 exam the final? Yeah, I just call it the final because I'm supposed to, by policy at the college, I'm supposed to give you a final. So if I call it the final, then I'm doing the policy. Does that make sense? So that's why I label it the final, but really it's just week 12 exam. So on Thursday will be your initial post of the discussion. And that has to be done by Thursday, but I will let you know if you do it by Wednesday, then I will look at it. And if there's any problems with it, I'll let you know so that you can fix it and not lose points. If you wait till the last minute, then that's your risk. Okay. So that's important. And again, I'll show you examples in a little bit. We're not quite there yet, but we're almost there. And then by Sunday, you have to reply to to someone else. Okay. This week is the 1 week. There's 2 discussion posts, and you'll see why in a bit. One's just fun, and the other is you actually have to do some statistics. Okay. The webinars. So the webinars are they are every week. I'll be giving a webinar through week 11. I don't give a webinar through week 12 because some people, by the time I would give one, you already finished with the class. It's too late. You know what I mean? So I give one a week 11. It'll be a last one. And that's every week. And they are required to either watch live or watch archived by Sunday. And then there'll be a secret word quiz, which I'll show you in a bit. They're really easy, that you have to do. And again, if you watch the webinar and pay attention to it, that's important too, then you will always get the secret word quiz right. Okay, so that's the key. In fact, I think I'll tell you now what the secret word is for the orientation. You want to hear it? And let's see, I think it allows me to do this. Just a minute. Click that. There we go. And then annotate. And then text. And let's make it red. The secret word for the orientation is time. And there's a reason for that. I always, by the way, every secret word has a reason, but you probably would never have guessed that would be the secret word, because this class takes a lot of time. And if you don't make sure that you spend several hours every week working on the material for this class, there's a lot of material, then it won't go well for you. You won't make it. So if you don't have the time to put into this class, probably want to drop the class because there's no reason that you don't want to fail it, right? So, make sure that you have set time for yourselves to make it through. Does that make sense? So all of you, by the way, because this isn't going to sit here forever, by the way, I'm going to erase it in a moment. Write down this word time, because what I do is I put the secret word in somewhere in the webinar, usually not the very end, not the very beginning either, so that you should watch the webinar. Does that make sense? Okay. And let me get rid of it now. So I'm not going to say it again. But by the way, if you forget it for some reason, you could watch it, rewatch on YouTube. But the idea is you're watching it now. You don't have to watch it on YouTube because you've got it written down, hopefully. Okay. So that's the secret word. If you don't submit it by Sunday, by the way, then you have two choices. Either you can lose 5% of your course grade per missed secret word quiz. That sucks, by the way. So you don't want to do that. Or you can watch the webinar on YouTube, take detailed notes, 5 pages at least. Email me the notes, and then I'll give you full credit for the secret word quiz. That's a lot more work than just watching it by Sunday and doing the secret word quiz. But I want to give you a last chance. Okay. And by the way, the final exam is the end of this course. If you send it the day after the final, I won't accept it. So the final exam, Wednesday of that week 12 is the last chance to do anything. Okay. Any questions? And in fact, if you ask for it, can I get extra credit on, when you ask on Thursday, I'll say, no, the class is over. There's no extra credit. And we don't do extra credit in this class. Just to let you know that. Almost never. Okay. Projects. So again, I mentioned a little bit. I can't talk about all of it because a lot of it is statistics based, which we haven't learned yet. But there are 2 projects and you need to find partners. I'll show you how to do that in a second. Okay, or a few minutes. And you'll be doing that, and I'll spend a lot of time talking about it. Are you able to work ahead? So for everything you can work, everything starts at least a week in advance that you can work ahead. But I think I set up the exams so they can't be done more than a week ahead. Okay. If there's something in your life that's going on and you need an exception, let me know. Okay. But if you want to pay someone to do the whole class for you tomorrow, that won't work because I'd close things down. So that you can't do. But so you can work pretty far ahead, but not completely to, all the way today to the end. Okay. And again, I'll talk a lot about the project on, I think it's week 3 webinar where we talk about the project. Okay. Q&A forum. This is very important. There are different ways of communicating with me. One way is by email, and that's if it's something that you don't want the rest of the class to see. Okay, it's not really their business. But if you have a question where other people will help, other people will get help from the conversation, then you should use the Q&A forum. So if you have a question about how to do a statistics problem that you'll work on at homework, then that conversation can help other people because they'll learn the concept. And if I click on that Q&A form, right now there's nothing in it because class has just started. Then this is the discussion forum. You hit reply and I need help on understanding. I don't know. How about the stratified sampling? In particular, and I'm not gonna type it all that because I don't waste your time. And then don't forget, this is really important. And if you've used Canvas a lot, then you understand it. That you have to go and hit post reply. I'm not going to hit that because I don't want to post this. But if you don't hit post reply, then it doesn't get posted and no one ever sees it. So don't forget to hit post reply. And then you can always go to the Q&A forum and look to make sure it worked. I'm going to cancel. Any questions on that? So if there's anything that other people will benefit from that's not personal, then make sure you post it there. Does that make sense? Okay. Where was I? Let's go back to syllabus. We're getting there, almost at the end. Diversity and inclusion. The most important thing is we're all adults, treat people as professionals, be nice, don't be racist. Everyone has different backgrounds, which is fine. So, be nice to each other. That's the main thing. Any questions on that? Okay. By the way, just in case you're interested in giving feedback, but not mentioning to me who you are, which by the way, I would never zap you for giving me feedback. But if you want to do that, I have an anonymous feedback page. But you're welcome to just send me an email with feedback and I'll listen to it. Okay. And then there's a good chance I'll let that be done. And I do want to let you know a lot of the assignments that are done, and actually my Canvas class, the assignments, when you're doing these homework problems, you're not the only ones using these problems. I wrote these problems, okay, along with 2 other people that I team with, but I was the lead person. Any guess on how many people have used the assignments that we have created?
Five?
Close to 300,000 students.
Well, never mind.
Yeah. So these assignments have been used and are used by like hundreds of thousands of students. So if you have some feedback and want to give me a suggestion on making the question understandable, or maybe I spelled something wrong, let me know. And you can help, you know, this is one of those, it's not a statistic thing, but it's a feel good in life, good for your soul. If you can help 100,000 people, you've done a good thing in life. So again, if you can make something better by giving me feedback, I'll do that. And then you can help a lot of people and it feels good. Does that make sense? Okay. Yeah. So what I've done, I've been doing this for many, many years. I'm like a national leader in this. So universities throughout the world are using it now in colleges, by the way. Okay. Netiquette guidelines, basically be nice to each other. I'll let you read through. I have office hours 5 days a week. And these are the times: Monday, Wednesday, 1:30 to 2:30, Tuesday, Thursday, 3 to 4, Friday, 11 to 12. And they are on the same link that we're on now, Zoom. But if you happen to be in Tahoe, you don't need to, but if you want to come to my office, you can. And I'll be sitting in my office. If I am not in my office hour, that means that my internet's down. And I apologize in advance. In the winter, that happens sometimes, especially recently. So that could happen, but hopefully it won't. But let you know, And when you log into Zoom for office hours, say something so I hear it. Because I might be grading or something. If no one's in my office hour, I'm going to be doing stuff. And then if I hear you, hey, I have a question, then I'll look at the screen and then I'll know you're there. Does that make sense? Because I don't sit there staring at a blank screen for an hour. Because I don't know, I have better things to do. But when you come in, I'll be really happy that you come in and I'll help you out. Okay, calculators. Okay, as I mentioned, just like the textbook, I do not want you to have to pay for anything in this class. So one of the things I did, and I'm a coder, is I made calculators for this class. So there are 2 different calculators for this class. One is a LibreText calculator, and this is what you're going to use for most of what we're doing in the class. And this has everything we need to do for all the exercises that you have to do. So here's and I do an order at which we do things. Here's random number generator. This one you should all even understand. Let's say you want to get a random number from, I don't know, give me 2 numbers. You want to get a random number from something to something.
5 to 100.
Okay, so 5 to 100. Get random. There we go, 68. You want another one? 74. Another one, you do this all day long. 100, 5, 83. Okay, 68, 53. So this will give you random numbers. Okay. Sorry if I didn't see your 1 to 15 before the 5 to 100 I heard, but you can do whatever you want. Okay. And if you get back to the calculator menu, by the way, then this will give you, you're not going to use a random number generator much. You're going to use the rest of them, but since we haven't done any statistics yet, I wanted to give you one that you might understand. But you're going to be using these a lot. And I tried to make them really easy. And the good news is I originally coded this probably about 5 years ago or so. And in the last 5 years, I've gotten lots of feedback to improve it, make it easier to use and more helpful. So it's getting to the point where I don't get much feedback because everyone's happy with it. But if there's something you want to see that I don't have in there, You can ask. I can't guarantee it. If you say, I want it to be able to read my mind so that I don't even have to type anything, I won't know how to do that. Sorry. But if there's something that's harder to understand or something, then maybe I can put some instructions in or make it easier to see or type or whatever. Does that make sense? So I coded all this stuff. I'm a coder. Okay, so this is a good thing. Then there is the next calculator. There's another calculator I made, and this has to be done for your project. And I use Google Sheets for this because that's free. Free is good. It might give you warnings. This could give you a virus. I promise you, I will not give you a virus. But for some reason, it gives a warning. And then what you need to do, the very first thing you have to do is you have to go to File. Then you have to hit Make a Copy. Okay. And see, it gives all kinds of warnings. That's okay. Give it a name. And then hit Make a Copy. I don't want another copy. How many of these do I really need? But you need to make, you only do this once in your entire course. And then you have yours. And if you've used these kind of programs, the idea here, I'm going to cancel, by the way. The idea here is that way you and your this is for your project, by the way. This way you and your project partners can be working on Google Sheets together, seeing the same data that you've collected and be able to work together as a team. Does that make sense? And if you type something in, your partners will see it. If you do make a copy and then you share the copy with your partners, then they can work with it too. Okay, and I'll be happy to help you if you don't know how, you can't figure that out. I can walk you through that if you can't do it. It helps sometimes to, if you have a Google account, to be logged into your Google account first before you hit Make a Copy, because it gets put into your Google account. Is the way it works. The other reason why I make you do this, it's an absolute requirement, is that there are some universities that if I don't require a spreadsheet, and this is a spreadsheet, they won't accept this for transfer. And my guess, if I said this class will not work for transfer, my guess is you would all drop the class tonight. Am I right? So my number one thing in this entire course, in terms of building this course, is to make sure this transfers. And this transfers. Okay, as an elementary stats class. Does not transfer as some graduate level advanced stats, but that's a whole different thing. But this transfers as elementary stats. Okay, at every university that I've ever had anyone try to get it transferred to. Okay, any questions on that? If you want, the TI is a lot harder to use because it's not made for this course. Just let you know that. I coded this one just for our class. So I promise you this will be easy. No one complains about how hard it is to use it. They complain about how hard statistics is, but not how hard the calculator is to use. Okay, and this is free. So, again, it's not like there's a proctor, so I'm not going to know which calculator you used. But you have to use the spreadsheet for your project, and you actually do a copy and paste into your project. I'll talk about that later. Not today, later, but when we talk about the projects. If you have a learning disability, then you must, if you need accommodations, then you have to click on this or email or call the Student Accessibility Service Center, and they will make sure that whatever needs you have will happen. So for example, if you have some kind of learning disability that requires more time on exams, then they will let me know that you need an extra, whatever, instead of 90 minutes, 180 minutes, and I'll make sure that you get that. But if you don't go through them, then I won't know, and I won't be able to do it for you. So you have to do that. Okay, and they're really nice people, by the way. So good to work with, easy to talk to. Tutoring, there is tutoring, lots of it. Okay, and this is where I want to introduce Braulio. So Braulio, can you say hi? Hopefully you're still
Hello,
on.
class. Yeah, how's it going, everyone? So my name is Braulio. I'll be the embedded tutor this semester. I've been embedded tutor for a few years now, 4 years now. So I'd like to think that I know the subject pretty well. You can find me on Cranium Cafe. One person already found me earlier, but it's going to be there on the syllabus. Yep, right there, that link that Larry is circling. Those hours are not correct, but if you go to the link, those hours are updated. So I'll just
Yeah, send me an email,
Actu-
Braulio, with your hours.
yep, I'll fix the hours. They'll be
Yeah, so that
fixed
I can go fix
by
it on the
tonight.
syllabus, because I didn't know your hours, into still the hours, but you'll let me know and then I'll put them in there.
Yeah, sure thing. So yeah, I'll update my hours they'll be fixed by tomorrow. You can go on Cranium Cafe and you can schedule an appointment if you like. You can drop in as well. If I'm not busy, then I'll see you right away. If not, I'll just like kind of either group you with someone else or have you wait like just a couple minutes. I can help you with homework, discussion post, and both of the term papers that you'll be working on as a team. There's a lot of ideas that the term papers cover. So, generally like to go over them before you submit. And yeah, I'm gonna share my email in the chat so you can email me if you have any like quick questions, but don't have time to like stop by. You can feel free to email me there. And then again, just follow that Cranium Cafe link to to chat with me. But yeah, looking forward to working with you all. Good luck.
Any questions for Braulio? Any questions? Okay. So again, he's great and he knows he's been doing this for years. So he knows this class better than anybody, who could help you. There are other statistics tutors. Braulio is the best because he knows our class, but the other statistics tutors can still help. They know statistics if Braulio's not there. Okay. In case you have trouble with Canvas, there's some links that I posted to get help with Canvas. A little word on honesty, don't cheat. I'll let you read through. And just this is the bottom of the syllabus. And this gives you by date at which things are due, kind of gives you an idea. The only thing it doesn't show you is a Thursday, and that's something we all want Canvas to do that, but Canvas doesn't do that yet. The Thursday Canvas, the Thursday discussion post. So you have to have your initial discussion post by Thursday, and that won't be shown, but every Thursday. The other thing is I will always send an announcement whenever there's stuff due. So every Thursday morning, you'll get an announcement from me that says, hey, don't forget. What I strongly recommend is that you look at the announcements. So if you don't look at your college email, because that's where they get originally sent, make sure that you go to Canvas and send it. You can send it to your phone text. You can also take your college email and you can forward it to your email that you use more often. But make sure you do that so you actually see all the communication I send. I send a lot of communication. So that's just a big note. Any questions before we move to what the assignments look like? Okay, so I'm going to go to modules now. Starting next week, that'll be the home page of the modules. This week I have a syllabus because that's kind of the big thing to look at now. But next week, this is what you'll be looking at. And just like your course information, this basically has all the stuff that we've already talked about. So I'm going to Zoom. It always takes a while to, there we go. I'm going to minimize that. And this is week 1. And what I've done is I've kind of set in all the stuff that we do. So if I click on this, this is that original, I told you there were weekly webinar stuff. And this is the weekly webinar, not webinar, sorry, weekly video. And the short one. If I hit next, this is just information about the webinar, which obviously if you're here watching it, you don't need anymore because you're in it, but it's information. And then if I hit next, this is information about tomorrow's webinar. So tomorrow at noon, we have a webinar, and that actually will do math, it'll do statistics. So very different. Today is just about understanding the course. Let's see. The discussions are due by midnight Thursday or midnight Friday. Midnight Thursday. Midnight Thursday for the initial discussion post. Final discussion post which is your reply, is due by Sunday, but the initial is Thursday. And that way I figure between Thursday and Sunday, that's enough time for people to reply, because I have to give you enough time. If I hit next, these are student learning outcomes. Okay. And by the way, you don't have to hit next every time, but that's the way you kind of go through. You can also go back to the modules. And then you can see we've gone through this stuff. Student learning outcomes. I'm not going to click on every one of these, but this is a link to the chapter. This is a link to the textbook. This is a link to the chapter 1 video that I showed you. Remember, there's 13 videos. So this is chapter 1 video. This is chapter 2 video. Week 1, we have chapter 1 and 2 because they're pretty easy the chapters. There's a link to the short videos for this particular chapter. And then these full-length videos are a voiceover PowerPoint. So I also have a link to the PowerPoint in case you want it. And then the assignments. So let's go look at the assignments. Orientation secret word quiz. Hopefully you all wrote down the secret word. You can do this right now if you want. Okay. And this is not what it'll look like for you. This is for me. In fact, I need to go to, where is preview? I think I have to make it look like a student or it won't show well. So I think I'll show you the next one because I think that one is better to understand. It's harder to show this what it'll look like to you guys. Okay, so here's week 1 secret word quiz. This is a secret word quiz for tomorrow's secret word, not today's. Today's was the other one. And then it says, one question, what was the secret word for week 1 webinar? None of you know it yet because I haven't given it. That'll be tomorrow. Okay, the prior one asks the same question for the orientation webinar and you type it in. You type it in and hit submit quiz. It's very easy. Any questions on the secret word quizzes? Don't forget to do them. That's the important thing. Even if you wrote down the word, if you don't do it, then it doesn't help. So let me go back to modules. And then there are the discussion posts. So there are, this week is the only week there's 2 because one is just for fun. And the other one is actually doing statistics. So here's the first one. This is the one that's due. And again, there's no reason to get anything other than 10 out of 10 on this because all you have to do is do it on time. Okay, introduce yourself by stating 2 truthful facts about yourself and 1 thing that is not truthful. You will see other students can guess. You'll see you want to see if other students can guess what are truthful and what's not truthful. Then respond to at least 1 other student's list to see if you can figure out which are truthful and which are not truthful. Okay, finally, this is the one you actually have to do 3 things. It's the only one you have to do 3 things. After someone has responded to your list, comment on whether that student was correct, and then write about how you plan on using statistics in your future coursework or career. Okay. So just to note, this particular week, this particular one, which is not going to be true of almost all the rest of them, I encourage you to respond to everyone, guess everyone, see what you can guess, because it makes everyone happy and fun. It's more fun if everyone's guessing, right? And by the way, I always post a sample, and you can respond to mine too for this one. Don't respond to mine on future ones, and I'll show you why. But here's mine. This is what it looks like. Here are my 3 truths. See if you can guess which are truthful. So I love hiking and have hiked the entire Pacific Crest Trail from the Mexican border to the Canadian border. Number 2 is I spent 9 years as an elected politician, winning my first election by just 3 votes. And number 3, I personally disconnected the communication systems for the space shuttle while it was in orbit, causing it to remain in orbit an extra day. 2 of those are true, 1 is not true. And I'm not going to tell you until this weekend. I'm going to let you guess, and then I will tell you. Okay, just let you know. And notice that we already have some guesses. Okay. Any questions on what these look like? Okay, they're pretty easy to use. Hopefully you'll have no problems with it. If you have trouble, then you can get help from me or Braulio or anybody. Okay, if you go to discussions, by the way, because that's important, you will see that there are discussion posts, discussion boards that are, I pinned up the important ones for the week. Q&A forum will always be up there, the entire one, and we already saw that one. There's also a Project One discussion board. Right now, there's nothing there, but here's what I recommend all of you do in the next few days. Hit reply and say, I am looking for partners for Project One. Okay, and maybe you want to get started earlier. Maybe you're going to wait and, you're not quite ready yet. So I want to start earlier. So please let me know. If you can partner up with me. Any questions on that? Okay, then I'm not going to do it because I'm not looking for a partner, because I don't have to do a partner project. I read your project and grade them. But you hit post reply. Don't forget to hit post reply. Okay, and then, by the way, I'm going to cancel it. Then if you see someone else who's looking for a partner, you can reply to them, hey, let's be partners. Okay, and by the way, strongly recommend 3 people per partnership. You're allowed to have 2, but recommended 3. And there's 2 big reasons to recommend 3, by the way. One is that if there's 3 of you, then you only have to do 33% of the work, 33 1/3% of the work. If there's 2 of you, you have to do 50% of the work, which is easier. Yeah, might as well go for the easy, right? So that's one reason. There cannot be more than 3. So if there's 6 of you, then you form 2 groups of 3. Do you see that? Yeah. If there's 4 of you, form 2 groups of 2, and then see if you can grab another person each. Does that make sense? There's always someone, at the last minute looking for someone. Another reason to have 3 is if someone drops out, then you're not screwed. Because people do drop out of this class. Okay, you can still see if you can grab someone else, but if you have 2 left, you're still okay. Whereas if there's only 2 of you and your partner drops out, you're screwed. Does that make sense? Okay, so that's project discussion forum. After you do that, then you're going to start posting questions about the project, but we're not there yet. All kinds of things, which I'll show you another day. Any questions on that? Okay, if I go back to the discussion board. Okay, you're going to see, by the way, there's 2 truths and untruth. We saw that. There's also a survey design one. And this we're not ready to do yet. But this one is more like what all the rest of them are going to look like. This you actually do statistics instead of just have some fun with each other. You know what I mean? So here you're going to have to post an article. And then you're going to have to reply to someone else. What I'll always do is do a model post. And I will reply to myself on the ones that are statistics based like this one. So I posted, I replied to myself. Do not reply to yourself. So my model is to see what replies look like, but what you shouldn't do is reply to your own post. So I will do a model so you can kind of see what's expected. Does that make sense? But don't just copy and paste mine. Make sure you do your own. So you're supposed to post a link. Don't use my link. Does that make sense? Okay, so here's an article that states half the workers who got a raise or higher pay job say their pay didn't keep up with inflation. And then I posted it. Just a note, when you type it in, when you copy and paste a link into Canvas, after you copy and paste, hit the space bar, and that makes it a link that someone can click on instead of someone that has to copy and paste again. And it's so easy to hit that space bar. That's just a Canvas thing. Okay, and then what I did is I said, you can find the sampling method used at the methodology section at the end of the article. So especially if it's might be a little difficult for them to find the information, then kind of point them to where the information is. You're not supposed to answer your own question, but you can point them. So especially if you're doing some kind of 20-page thing, you can't make them read 20 pages, but you can say, hey, on page 3, do this, find this. How many responses are required? Just one. You're required to do just one response. Okay. The only one where I recommend to do more than one is the fun one. Okay, and that's the one that the 2 truths, 1 untruth, because that's just fun. That's getting to know each other. But the regular ones that are statistics based, you just respond to one other person, and that's all you do. And you shouldn't respond to more than one other person, because if someone else has already replied to that person, then you're not allowed to reply to that person. So if you replied to 2 people, then you've screwed someone else over. Does that make sense? Because then there won't be enough places to reply. Yeah, so exactly 1. Okay, except for the 2 truths, 1 untruth, because that's just fun. Any other questions on the discussion? Okay, so that's what the discussions look like. And again, that's what most of them will look like. There's I think 1 or 2 others that are more fun, but most of them are going to be statistics. Okay, so let me go back to the modules. Because we're almost done. Just have a little bit left. Okay, so then comes what the assignments look like. If I click on this.
Hello.
Question? If you don't have a question, mute yourself, please. Okay, so this is what an assignment might look like. Okay, this is, and your quizzes, by the way, look like this too, except for the last 2 questions. Because again, the quiz is literally randomly grabbed from your assignment type things. And the assignments randomly grabbed from a big list of questions too, by the way. So sometimes the quizzes might, the exams. Sometimes the exams might not be the same questions because it randomized and grabbed a different problem than this one did. And sometimes they'll be the same with different numbers possibly. Okay, so identify the type of data that would be used to describe a response. Time in line to buy groceries. So let's say you said it was qualitative categorical. I'm going to submit question. Crap, I got it wrong. But what it does, it allows you to try a similar question. It also, you can click on this little key. It'll show you the answer. It was actually quantitative continuous. Okay, and again, we haven't talked about it yet, so I'm not expecting you to understand it. I just want you to see the features that this has. So it's quantitative continuous, and you got 0 points on question 1. That's not okay, and you shouldn't be okay with that. So you can get a similar question and try another one. Has the same ideas. So the average weight of newborn babies in ounces. And this happens to be, if you do quantitative continuous, and I got it right. And now for question 1, I got 100%. Even though I got 1 wrong, if you get 1 right, then it gives you 100%. Does that make sense? But if you're not understanding it at all, that for Braulio can definitely help. So you can get help from tutors. You can also post your question. You can copy and paste the question on the Q&A board, and it'll help you out if you want to do it that way. But get help, right? Don't just say, oh, well, I don't get this stuff. Make sure that you get help so that you learn this stuff, because that's the important thing. Okay, and for this one, everyone's different. There are 15 questions on this one that you'll have to do. And I'm not going to go through them all, but you will. So that's what the assignments look like. These are quick. You'll notice, you just answer it on these. Some of them that come later are longer, but they're not going to be as many questions. Or like this one, you got 2 full chapter assignments. And that won't be true of the ones that take more work. So that's kind of how those assignments are going to be. Let's go back to modules. And you'll notice that's the end of week 1. So that's everything. And that's pretty much everything that that I plan on talking about for the class, for the orientation. So I am going to stop the recording. And that doesn't mean, by the way, in every one of these webinars, I'll stop the recording. That doesn't mean it's over, because over is when you have no questions left. So I'll be happy to answer any questions throughout. What it means is that I don't have anything new to talk about. Does that make sense? So hopefully I'll see you at noon tomorrow. But I'm going to stop the share and stop the recording.